ladies and gentlemen, you welcome to this news on Equinoxe television, broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, the governor of the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, Lafrique, says investigations are ongoing to clarify the killing of two civilians in Bamenda yesterday. Prices of basic commodities continue skyrocketing in the Republic of Cameroon, further complicating the already difficult living conditions of the jobless, poor and low-income earners, making up a huge chunk of the population out of the country. In Niger, 18 civilians killed in an attack by militants in the west of the country. Stay with us. Killings, destruction continue to be reported in the northwest and southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. In the northwest and southwest regions of the country, socio-political tensions have been prevailing for 5 years today. The Anglophone crisis has killed many, maimed many, destroyed a lot of properties, and these atrocities continue in those two regions. In the most recent of such incidents, 2 civilians killed by a soldier in the town of Bamenda, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and the governor, Lafrique, says that investigations are ongoing to clarify the shooting yesterday at the Yaba Hotel in the town of Bamenda. Our correspondent in the northwest region, Stella, files in details.
Sir Henry and Ibrahim Yenjo Tala were before their deaths full of life and hope. They had plans to execute after cleaning their cars, but will never do. The two were shot dead by a soldier on duty at the Ayaba Hotel. Secondary schools had just closed at the time of the incident and students were returning home. The two bodies were then carried into the premises of the hotel. Security forces streamed into and out of the hotel, maintaining the population at a distance and preventing our cameras from filming. A release by the Northwest governor states that the two were shot dead by a soldier on duty following a dispute that ensued while they were drinking, adding that they were allegedly acting under the influence of alcohol. The soldiers' shooting spray comes at a time when the defense and security forces have been expecting collaboration from the populations of the Northwest and Southwest regions in the fight against the armed conflict. There are fears that these latest incidents may open up cracks in the relationship that is being built between the forces and the populations. In a bid to head off any backlash, Northwest Governor has called on the population of the Northwest region to exercise calm and remain law-abiding, while also extending his condolence to the bereaved families. An in-depth investigation has been ordered. Meanwhile, the Cameroon service member is in custody according to the governor's release of February 22, 2022.
The correspondent of La Nouvelle Expression newspaper and the British Broadcasting Corporation BBC in the northwest region of the country, Frederick Takang, was at the Yaba Hotel when that incident occurred. He narrowly escaped death after he took a decision that kept him away from the scene of the shooting. And he joins us from Bamenda with updates. Good evening, Frederick.
Thank you very much, Babila. I was able to visit this morning the premises of the hotel where this sad incident took place on Tuesday. A lot of sadness around the area. You can still see the blood of the 2 civilians that were gunned down by this soldier. Some investigative officers were around the hotel taking statement of some witness and also of some personnel of the hotel. As from now, it is really difficult to explain what could have pushed this soldier on duty at Ayaba, sharing a drink with the victim who was gunned down at close range, according to some witness. I was also part of those invited by the victim. I don't know what and why I decided to step out for some duty. The soldier is in custody. Only him can better explain. After shooting on the first person, that is the proprietor of Mawa Hotel, the same soldier has to use his gun, summon the second victim before gunning him down. While he was still threatening to gun down others, thanks to the timely intervention of the gendarmerie, they were able to disarm this soldier. And as you rightly read from the communique issued and signed by the governor, investigation are currently going on to clarify what could have pushed this soldier to carry on this act.
Insecurity has been a major problem for the people of the northwest and southwest regions of the country for more than 5 years today, worsened by the armed conflict going on there. Insecurity is also a problem to Cameroonians across the board, including the town of Douala, which is the economic capital of the country, where citizens or city dwellers are often attacked by suspected bandits and sometimes killed or deprived of their properties. Some of the suspected bandits have been arrested by forces of security and defense forces, notably the forces of law and order in the town of Douala. Smanjika and Gabriel Hasmo.
From a first view, one will think the plastic chairs on the coaster is being transported to another town. But they are chairs caught by elements of the Mobile Intervention Police Unit, number 2 of Douala, about to be taken to the West region to be sold.
Nous faisons la location des chaises.
We rent out chairs. For some time now, we noticed that many chairs have gone missing, and it led us to have unnecessary problems with other colleagues in the same line of business and other clients, because a customer who hires, say, 500 chairs leaves a cushion of 50 chairs. On their return, just 100 chairs are there, and it brings trouble with us. So many complaints have been dropped at security posts because of this, since we don't know where the chairs are going to. The chairs are belonging to business operators within Douala who have been in search of them after they rented them out. Several complaints deposited at the Mobile Intervention Police Unit provoked an investigation to be opened.
We received a complaint that made us understand that at the Bonamusaji neighborhood, a victim by name, a certain association, lost a good number of chairs, plastic chairs. And from our investigation, we discovered that there was a transaction that was going around the Besege Valley. So we rushed there on the field during the day, and fortunately for us, we arrested a young lady who was in the course of selling about 10 chairs. She sold them at a price of 20,000. So from her arrest, she took us to a second suspect who was in charge of cleaning the chairs, trying to wipe out the names and signs that were inscribed on the chairs.
The descent of security forces to the ground led to the capture of 3 persons who were suspected of stealing these plastic chairs and later selling them out. Operators in chair rentals are now urged to be vigilant when renting out their chairs. The 3 suspects will be taken to the court for justice to take its course.
Another problem plaguing life in the Republic of Cameroon: inadequate power supply. And this is a problem cutting across the board, from the main cities to the rural areas, even in the country's economic capital, Douala, and particularly in the economic hub of the town, Akwa. The problem of inadequate electric energy supply is provoking or generating enormous loss in income for business persons and, of course, for households. Details in this report by Mala Glory.
Businessmen and women of Mashi-Sandaga neighborhood and other parts of Akwa suffer the problem of power shortage in the economic capital city Douala. Due to 2 days of lack of electricity, according to these traders, their products are getting bad and they are losing huge sums of money. Petty trading who depends highly on electricity for their daily activity turn to other options such as generators, says this barber.
Vous voyez, nous on vient ici au marché, il n'y a pas l'énergie.
When we come and discover there is no electricity, it affects us because our family depends on this. We spend some days without light, just like the day of yesterday and today. According to one of the traders working in a grinding machine, she has lost 2 days and was forced to sell vegetable fruits in order to feed her family, while fish from a cold store has been given out for smoking in order to reduce the loss, says the storekeeper. This is the second day that I'm not working. What can we do for NAO to stabilize electricity in this area? The loss is enormous on my side. Imagine buying fish and cannot sell it. Once the ice will be out of the fish, we'll be forced to give it out for smoking. The call on the electric supply company to stabilize electricity in this area and the city as a whole in order to improve the economic situation of the region.
The AFCON has come and gone, but many who worked during the Africa Cup of Nations are still demanding for their pay. Some young persons who spent weeks ensuring that the Japuma Sports Complex on the outskirts of the country's economic capital, Douala, is in a good hygienic state during the Africa Cup of Nations are still asking for their pay, and they spent days and nights sleeping in difficult conditions, working to ensure that the Japuma Sports Complex is clean during the Africa Cup of Nations. Till today, they have not received any time. They have not received their pay, and we spoke with them. This is what they told our reporter Innocent.
Sitting on the ground at the entrance of the Japoma Stadium Douala, these young Cameroonians who work in various disciplines to ensure the smooth running of the AFCON Cameroon 2021 reclaim their remuneration, still pending 2 weeks after end of the tournament.
All what we really reclaim here is our salary, seriously. We have worked here during 1 month, which was for the African Cup of Nations.
They were recruited to keep the Japoma Stadium clean at all levels. Activities were carried out in extreme difficult and inhumane conditions.
Les gars lavaient les toilettes sans gants.
We cleaned toilets without gloves. Even water to drink was not given us. We worked like slaves. At one point, they threatened to seize our badge when we sit to rest just for a minute. Feeding, transportation and other expenses were from our pockets. Since end of matches at the Japoma Stadium, notably the quarter-final, all they received was what the stadium coordinator calls transport fare, also referred to as the reward for their services throughout the AFCON.
We came to reclaim our money, and he said that our money is not there, and that the money that he gave us was our salary.
The transport fare given us was not even equitable. Others received 5,000, some 10, 20 and 25,000 francs. We posed a lot of questions because there were people from far off places like Bonaberi, Bonamusadi, PK 14, PK 21 and so on. During their recruitment, all assurances to pay them were made.
What the Coordinator Generation of Japoma said us during the competition was that he's going to pay us according to our working condition.
On January 3rd, we arrived here. We spoke with the coordinator of the Japoma Stadium, and he made us understand that concerning salary, we do not need to worry. These disgruntled young Cameroonians have also been at the Littoral Regional Delegation of Youth and Civic Education, where their names are not found on any paper. The delegates told us that he is in charge of volunteers only, and that in his file are not found our names, that it is the coordinator of the Japoma Stadium who has to settle us.
Celui qui doit nous gérer, c'est le coordonnateur général de Japoma.
Contacted, the coordinator says these youths were recruited by the enterprise called Condesa to reinforce its permanent team. An enterprise which, according to the young Cameroonians, is fictitious, as they have never heard or learnt of it and have never known any of its personnel.
Cameroonians are lamenting over the continuous increase in prices of basic consumer goods. Prices of meat, bread, vegetable oil, among others, have been increasing for the past weeks, and this is making things quite difficult, especially for the poor and low-income earners who make up a good chunk, a great proportion of the population of the country. Details in this report compiled by Immaculate Fogwe.
Several heads of families in Cameroon have helplessly watched their ability to afford for basic commodities dwindle in recent times due to the rising cost. Before, I used to give my wife the sum of 3,000 francs or 4,000 francs to cook a meal and we'll eat it for 2 days. But now, even 5,000 francs is not enough to cook a meal for a day. Everything has become very expensive. When my wife goes for shopping, she comes back with an almost empty basket. I used to give my wife 10,000 francs for a week, but now even 20,000 francs which I give weekly cannot buy anything tangible. Things have become very expensive. The increase in cost of living have been attributed to a combination of external and domestic factors which include high taxes and the increase in cost of production. When we started complaining, they told us it was because of the ongoing African Cup of Nations. Now it's over, but things are rather getting tough every day. The COVID-19 pandemic has also disrupted global supply chains, making items very expensive and tedious to access, move goods and services across the borders. Prices continue to rise even when our salaries are still the same. We need to work extra hard so as to put food on the table. Most of us have accumulated debts to pay. It should be recalled that the price of bread was recently increased by bakery owners. What used to be sold for 125 francs now costs 150 francs. The recent hike in price of basic commodities like food, house rent, water and electricity bill is putting low and middle income earners on a hot seat. Locals blame the government for failing to curb the ever-rising prices.
The government of Niger says 18 civilians have been killed by militants in the west of the country. The government said armed bandits on motorbikes attacked a truck transporting people between two villages in the Tillabéri region. West Niger, like neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso, has for years faced militant attacks despite the efforts of international forces deployed to the wider Sahel region to fight the Islamist insurgents. Both Niger's neighbors now have military governments after army chiefs ousted civilian administrations, saying they had failed to tackle insurgencies. And this is where we end this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. We're not going to have talking point today due to some technical reasons. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay with us.